Hello, I'm Frost, and welcome to this, episode 6 of the Age of Wonders Planetfall Beginner's Guide. And in this episode, I'm going to be covering the secret technologies. So when we covered the races factions, we had 6 of those, and it is no different with the secret technologies. We have 6 of these. And these secret technologies give you a variety of different abilities, units, etc., which I'm going to cover in a sec, and also a doomsday weapon. So the idea is that they all have their own particular flavour, but they're all pretty much of a muchness. So I'm going to cover the kind of an overall general view of the secret tech, of what it does, and then I'll do a quick little run through of each of the secret techs, just so you know kind of the variants of each of these. So first up, what does secret tech involve? Well, if we go into the military tree, there we go, and let's zoom back to the left here. See down the bottom here, so at the moment I've got Promethean, but it could be any of the secret techs. And you'll see there's 3 rows. So we've got the top row here, where you can see Purifier Corp. Then underneath we've got the second row, where we've got Phoenix Op Station. And then down the bottom here, we've got the last row, which is Tactical Protection. So essentially, for every secret tech, the top row are the units. So you get some units that are specific to that tech. So as well as the units that you get with your race stroke faction, you also get 3 different types of units for your secret tech. The next row covers strategic operations. So you have a whole bunch of different strategic operations that are specific to the secret tech. And also on this line, you will then have your doomsday weapon. So if we scroll up, here we go. So Pyrrhex, that's the, well, I'll cover that in a minute, but it's the thermal side, basically. You can see here we have the Pyrrhex refinery. So that is basically the first part of your doomsday weapon. And then right up the end of this row, down here we have planetary purification, which is the final stage of the doomsday weapon. So they have different names in all the secret techs, but essentially they all do the same thing, which is a doomsday. And then finally, right at the bottom, down here with tactical protection, we have things like unit mods, and we also have tactical operations. And as you go up through your skill tree, as you can see, you have various options then being made available to you. So that, in a nutshell, is the secret tech. Gives you new units, gives you different strategic operations, and gives you different flavors of mods to put onto your units and different options in your tactical operations. So there you go, it's all pretty straightforward. And what I will do is I'm going to close this. So you can see that right now, for example, I've got the Promethean. So you can see these are the 3 units of the Promethean. So down here we've got the Purifier, we've got the Aegis tank, and then we've got the Walker. And as you can see from the bright orange and red on them, they are thermal damage. So you can see I'll just click on him if I can, there we go. And you can see that this is basically a thermal-based weaponry. Okay, so there you go. So that's the overall view of the secret tech. And what we'll do now is we'll just do a quick little run through of each of the techs, so I can just tell you about the damage types and anything that's kind of specific to them. And then we can then wrap that up. So I'll try and keep it nice and short for you. Okay, so covering the secret techs in alphabetical order, the first will be the Celestian. And so I was using the Celestian with the Dvar here. And one of the things you can do is if you want to know about your secret techs, you've already started playing, you want to know where to get the information on them. If you go into your diplomacy and go to your own character, and then just go into background in the top right-hand corner, and you can see there Celestian, and then it will give you basically the basic information about the secret tech. So you can see with Celestian, you can sway enemy soldiers and colonists to your cause. So you can basically, you get tactical operations where you can get troops, enemy troops to work for you. You get NPC diplomacy bonuses, which makes it easier to work with factions, etc. Strong morale buffing, which means that if you've got somebody who's using secret tech against you that can lower morale, then you can basically fight against that. And also they use, this is the most important bit, the psionic and thermal damage channels. Okay, so the psionic, if you remember, goes straight through armor, and thermal does burning status effects, for example. And right at the very end, I'll describe why these are kind of important, because it can play a major part in how you play the game and which race you pick with which secret tech. So that essentially is the Celestian. I mean, we can have a quick look at the troop movements, but I'm sure you could do that yourself. At the units, you just once again, you go into your military technology, and you can see you've got luminance, star presence, and up the top here we got Axiom of Light. So those are your 3 units. And then if I just quickly go into, here we go, so you can see Blessing of Starlight gives a healing sway ideology. So as we mentioned earlier about working with NPC factions and stuff, you can change your relationship for your opponents and for yourself. And then down the bottom here, I think I've got Soulfire, here we go, which is a psi-based strategic weapon. So there you go, so that's Celestian, and we're going to move on to the Promethean. And so the Promethean is a thermal-based damage, and also there is some kinetic in there as well, some kinetic weapons. For example, the Aegis tank does kinetic damage, it does like a force wave in front of it, whilst the other 2 special units are incendiary. And they have this system called Pyrrhex, which is basically their flamethrowers, etc. And the Promethean technology came about as a consequence of dealing with planets with the Xenoplague. The idea was the Promethean technology was there to just burn planets to the ground and get rid of all the plague. In terms of strategic operations and so forth, they're all incendiary. So you can see Incineration Strike, Plasma Ray Defense, Pyrrhex Flash Strike. So you kind of get the idea. You're just basically setting things alight. Your status effect is burning. And it's one of my favorite to play, actually. I find it really, really good. And apart from that, that's kind of about it. And obviously you have your Doomsday weapon, just like all the other techs. And we're going to move on. So next up is Synumbra. So if Celestian was to be the sort of the good force, then Synumbra is the dark force. And it uses only psionic damage as its damage type, and is very much based on psionic weapons and then lowering morale. The idea is that it just takes away, saps away the morale of your opponents, and their status effect is Broken Mind, which essentially just freezes an enemy opponent if they manage to apply the status effect. Strategic operations are primarily all about lowering morale and just generally making everybody feel miserable. So if that's the kind of person you are, then the Synumbra is perfect for you. Now this one is my favorite. This is Synthesis. And the concept behind Synthesis is a technology-based, hacking-based secret tech. So the idea is that you have the ability to install mods on your units that allow them to then integrate into the network. You can then hack enemy units and take control of mechanical units. And if we look at the strategic operations, you can see cascading system failure, cyber attack, deploy maintenance demons. So all very much techie based. And I think maybe my techie background gives me the reason why I like this one so much. But the thing with Synthesis as well is that I find the integration system to work very well. It works very well in manual combat, as you can basically, if all your units have mods that are Synthesis units, then you can apply bonuses across your whole army, which is absolutely brilliant. If you're wondering what this kind of yellow flickering is on the screen, by the way, is because I've activated my Doomsday, and I'm on the countdown for my Doomsday, so I'm about to incinerate everything. Or, sorry, not incinerate, that's Promethean. I'm about to integrate everything into my network. So there you go, so that's Synthesis for you. Now, Voidtech works on the principle of being able to manipulate time and matter. So your units have the ability to do things like teleport. You get the opportunity to teleport your opponents. You get to create voids that basically suck things in. So it's very much, like I said, time and matter. The weapon types are kinetic and arc. So those are your 2 damage types of Voidtech. And the units are actually pretty fun to play with. The phase manipulator one here is pretty cool. So you can see you've got phase shift abduct and phase shift evacuate. So you can basically move an opponent and put them right on top of your own units, which is good. Or you can basically just teleport yourself out. And also you have teleport units in mods as well. So there you go. So that's Voidtech, time and matter. So if you like zooming things around, that's the one for you. And finally, we have Xenoplague. So Xenoplague is the biological warfare. And the status effect for this is parasitic infection. And the idea is you can infect units, and you can also create things like sleeper pheromones and send colonies to sleep and affect their production. So everything is based around infecting your opponents. The damage type on this is only 1 damage type, and that's biological. And the units are kind of fun. You've got these pustules, these destroyers, and plague lords. And one of the things that's quite unique to the Xenoplague, though, is the units can actually transform into greater units. So a pustule can become a destroyer can become a plague lord at the end of manual combat. So that your units can actually increase in capacity as you play along and as they survive and get used more and more. So that's an interesting aspect. But the idea is generally though with the Xenoplague is you just infect everything and just create a plague. So there you go. So I'm going to wrap this up now. So that was the 6. Really, it is down to preference. I mean, you know, choose the one you like to play and the one that you think is the most fun. The one thing I will say though is try to pick a secret technology that has a different damage type than your faction race. And the reason why I say that is, for example, if you've got something like the Amazon who do biological damage, you may not necessarily want to use Xenoplague. You want to use something like Voidtech that does arc damage or kinetic damage, because then you can stack your status effects. So for example, Promethean is thermal damage, so it does burning. Bio does parasitic infection. So if you have units that are both biological units and then you have units that are doing thermal damage, then you can basically stagger status effects on your opponents and do much more damage. So just something to bear in mind and to wrap up with. I hope you found that useful. Please let me know in the comments, you know, if you think there's something about each secret tech that you like particularly. If you have a preference, for example, which races and you like to use with which tech. And if you enjoyed this, then please give me a like. If you didn't, then don't. And make sure you subscribe. And I will be releasing more Planetfall material. Not so much on the beginner side now. I think we've kind of pretty much covered that. So I'm going to be doing some more in-depth episodes. So that if that's of interest to you, then please hit the bell icon and get notifications of my new content. So thank you very much for watching. And until next time, bye.